Abby Johnson here. I read a really sad story the other day and really strange. Share it with you guys. There was a story that came out of New Zealand, and it was about a woman who actually killed her daughter. She ended up strangling her daughter to death and essentially sort of got away with it, got away with murdering her daughter. Her daughter had Huntington's disease, which is a terminal illness, but people with Huntington's can live for a long time after diagnosis. And this woman could have gotten a life sentence in prison and, really should have. She strangled her daughter to death. And the judge, I'm just going to read this to you. The judge basically, this woman, Sherilyn Lawrence in New Zealand, was sentenced to 6.5 years in jail. She pled guilty, and she'll, probably get out much sooner than that instead of a life sentence. The judge, Cheryl Gwynn, decided that a life sentence was far too harsh and said, "It's clear to me your personal circumstances would make life imprisonment manifestly unjust. There are elements of a mercy killing in your daughter's death. The pain of watching your daughter deteriorate over the last 13 years of her life is unimaginable." And so apparently, if your child or another family member, I think particularly though because it is her child, it's so crazy to me that the judge basically said it's perfectly fine that you strangled your daughter to death. So instead of charging you with murder, I'm charging you with a far lesser sentence, and now you're going to get 6.5 years in jail. But of course, she'll probably get out in 2 for strangling her daughter. So, I've never strangled anybody to death. So I had an idea what strangling someone would probably look like. I watch a lot of true crime, but I did actually, look it up. And by the way, this mom had actually premeditated this. She had sent a text to her mom, the daughter's grandma, and had said, "I'm going to end up killing her." A week later, she did kill her. So I looked it up, though, and I was like, what happens physically when someone is strangled? And basically, it's terrifying. Of course, there's a lack of oxygen to the brain, and it says the death can occur in less than 5 minutes, typically. Although 5 minutes seems like a short period of time, it is torturously long when you are being strangled to death, which, of course, makes sense. The time it takes to be strangled to death is pure torture for the victim. With the lack of blood and oxygen flow, the head feels